Before we go any further, Lance, it doesn't matter really, but it was so weird last week when Impact went off the air and they had all of these videos promising that Dixie was going to go through a table swing. Not only promising that it was going to happen, but showing footage of her about to go through the table. And on this week's show, they were previewing next week's show, and they showed all of this video footage of the matches from next week. They're flat out telling you that this is a taped show that you are about to watch, and it's just bizarre to me. I mean, live versus tape, it really doesn't matter. And I think a lot of that is because most people, when they watch the show, they don't know if it's live or tape. They don't care. Most people don't know or care, so they presume they're watching it live. I'm not sure if the idea of telling people that they're about to watch a taped show, I guess we'll have to see if it makes any difference. It doesn't seem like it would make a difference, but it is bizarre to me to watch.
The thing I had a bigger problem with than that was Mike Tenay on commentary during the beginning of the show actually referred to Dixie going through the table and saying it does happen later in the show. And then later in the show, he was speculating on whether it would. Like, they actually stooged off that the commentary wasn't even live during the show.
It was weird because they did that, but they also opened up and they had this whole video package talking about how it's happening tonight. Again, not a tease. They're telling you it's happening tonight. They've got footage of it about to happen, and they're teasing that you've got to watch the show to see it happen. And then they immediately cut to Mike Tenay, and the first thing Mike Tenay says is, I wonder if it's going to happen tonight. It's like, I don't know. The whole thing is just so weird. It's just so strange to me. Again, it doesn't matter most likely, but it's strange to see. I guess we'll find out if it does matter. The show opened up with Bully, Dreamer, and Devon doing... Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it was just... I think it'll help, probably, that they told us a million times that this bump was going to happen, because it was sort of a one-time only. You can see Dixie get put through. So I think stooging it off continually probably helps in this instance. But yeah, as a general rule of thumb, I don't know if it will. But it does kill some of the suspense of the show when you tell us it's going to happen, and then you have a promo with a guy speculating on whether it will or won't happen.
So it opened up with Bully, Dreamer, and Devon doing a promo, and Bully is vowed to put Dixie through a table later. Tommy Dreamer was busy texting the entire time, but he did tell us to tweet our friend. So I guess we're supposed to think that he was paying attention. He was just busy tweeting. So at least he wasn't wearing his Twitter bird pants. That was a plus.
Yeah, the pants were a plus. But yeah, the whole time I'm just like, Tommy, put your phone away. Tommy, why won't you put your phone away? But at least his closing line brought the phone in, so there was a reason for it.
Sure. Abyss came out for the opener. It was Abyss versus Bram in a Monsters Ball match, which is a gimmick match. Garbage cans, chairs, assorted plunder. There was a cheese grater to the balls shot. Crowd was going nuts for this match. We want blood chants. Abyss finally busts out the thumbtack, spreads them all over the ring. Bram cut him off with a shot to the head with a kendo stick. Janice came into play. That is the the board covered in nails. Bram grabbed Janice, who had been stuck in a turnbuckle. I guess I should say who. I don't actually know how I should describe Janice. But anyway, before he could use it, he got choke slammed onto the tacks. Place goes nuts. They're chanting, "This is awesome." Dude's got tacks stuck into his back. Abyss went for the board, but Magnus, who was outside, he's Bram's corner man, he grabbed the barbed wire board or nail-covered board away from him. And then Bram speared Abyss through a barbed wire board, a barbed wire table, and then hit him in the guts with Janice and got the pin. Very bloody match, very violent, thumbtacks everywhere. It was the opener. I don't know where you go from there, but that was that. What were your thoughts?
I sat there amazed that it's 2014. I don't know, maybe I've just moved on and thought we got smarter than opening a show with bumping in tacks and barbed wire. And hitting each other in heads with objects. It felt, I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. Now, perhaps maybe part of the problem is that I haven't been watching regularly, so I don't know any story behind it. It's just like, oh, here's the opener, and they're bleeding and bumping in tacks, and Janice. It's much like when FMW started using, they started to bring out the sickle and the power drill. It just starts getting so unbelievable that it just becomes unbelievable. When you start bringing out, and I'm the same way with Hunter and his sledgehammer. When you start hitting people in the head with a sledgehammer, I just going, no. And that's where I got with the board with the nails out of it. Just seemed like taking turns hitting each other with objects and bumping on tacks. And, that's something that I've never liked, and I've always just thought it's the stuff that people can't work it's the stuff people that can't work do. And I'm not saying either of these two guys can't work. It's just what they were doing in this match. Bram actually looked like he was actually pretty talented, but I'm not a big fan of bumping on tacks, so I didn't care for the match.
It's kind of funny. I don't want to overanalyze a hardcore match, but when they did the cheese grater to the balls shot, he hits him in the balls with a cheese grater, and then he yanks the cheese grater up like he's grating his balls off, and I think it was Bram that got the cheese grater to the balls. Bram selling it like he had his balls grated off. And meanwhile, his trunks had not been ripped. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it was I think it worked. The audience liked it. But yeah, it was a completely ridiculous spot. Especially because I think he was coming with the overhead shot with the board. And he swung the, 1 ounce cheese grater up into his balls. And the guy sold that. And then did the grate the balls, which didn't shred the tights at all. And I thought it was really amusing when Taz made the comment, well, I hope he had a cup. I'm like, well, if he had a cup, what would he be selling?
I don't know. I will say one good thing about this. I will say one positive about this match. Janice, I don't think anyone has ever kicked out of a shot from Janice. At least it is a serious finish. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but it's silly too in that you hit me in the stomach with it and I'm incapacitated.
Well, it hurts really bad. It's a board covered in nails. Come on, Lance.
But still, it would cut you and make you bleed, but I don't think hitting you in the stomach would incapacitate you. When he hit the turnbuckle with it, it stuck into it. It hit Abyss and it didn't even tear his shirt.
Well, that's true.
It's just when you get an object that's so violent that you can't really hit anybody with it, then it just exposes that you're not really hitting anybody with it, in my opinion.
We had Joe and Low Key having a meeting backstage, talking about their X Division title tournament final later on. Both vowed to win. Nothing exciting here.
Just Low Key's voice.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you go to Low Key's website, it's all about how he does voiceover work now. Did you know that?
I didn't, but I could see where he'd be good at it.
That's right. EC3 and his crew of dastardly heels vowed to win later on. They made sure to do all of their WWE catchphrases, including Snitsky saying, "It's not my fault." I have no idea what was not his fault. That was never made clear. But whatever it was not his fault. You mentioned that Snitsky, he looked like he was called on short notice, so to speak.
Yeah, it was funny. My wife was watching from the kitchen making dinner, and when he was out there during the match, and she's like, "That's the worst singlet ever." I'm like, "It's a T-shirt."
There was a lot of T-shirt wearing in that hardcore battle tonight.
There was.
And we had MVP come out with his crew, Lashley, Kenny King. They had some women there as well. Lashley dressed to the nines, looking like a killer and a champion. MVP doing a promo. Crowd was chanting boring. MVP essentially buried Austin Aries for failing last week, said Lashley might be the champion forever. Lashley was a destroyer, he said. There is nobody else for him to beat. So out came Bobby Roode. Said he was a former world champion. He held the belt longer than anybody else in TNA history. Said he knew what it took to be the champion. MVP, he said that MVP knew that, and that's why when MVP was in charge, he had suspended Bobby Roode for 2 months. He said the plan was for MVP to be the champion, but MVP blew out his knee, which is true. Although I don't know what it has to do with storyline. But that is exactly what the backstage deal was. MVP was supposed to be the champion, but he got hurt, so they put the title on Lashley. So he said, listen, Lashley, MVP is going to use you to get what he wants. And Roode mentioned he'd been dominating on his own. He kicked MVP's ass. He kicked Kenny King's ass. Blah, blah, blah. Demanded he put the title on the line. Kenny King ended up jumping him. MVP walloped him with the crutch. And then Eric Young and Austin Aries came out to make the save. They did not make out. They came out to make the save. And then the heels bailed, and MVP said, "We've got better things to do tonight." And they left. So obviously this is going to be setting up a title match between Lashley and Bobby Roode, which actually was taped tonight. But I guess until then, we'll probably do some sort of six-man battle.
Yeah, I think the thing that stuck out to me is I thought Bobby looked really good. He came out and he looked like a champion, which I thought was really good. Although my favorite Twitter comment from this segment was Alice Radley tweeted that I think Bobby left his neck in his other suit.
His neck?
He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have a neck. He's all traps.
He look, and I don't know. I like the dynamic of him just standing there stoically while MVP talks around him. I like the subtle silence of a killer. I thought that was good, and I was thrilled to death that there's finally a babyface in this goddamn industry that has friends.
That's true.
I'm tired of all of the babyfaces, primarily in WWE, that get jumped and beat up for, what seem like hours on end, and not a single person comes out to save them. It's nice to know Bobby Roode actually has friends that came out to help him.
We had Anderson backstage. He said he didn't like Sam Shaw one bit. And then Gunner told him, you got to give this guy a chance. Bully Ray said he had a special somebody to watch their back tonight, someone who has been there since day one, and it was also this person's birthday. Which, by the way, I don't think that was true. Let's see when Al Snow's birthday.
Maybe it was true when they taped it.
Well, let's find out. Al Snow was born on July 18th. So, in fact, it is possible that it was his birthday that day. How about that?
What birthday was it?
His 51st birthday, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
He looked damn good then.
Looks great for 53. He's having some sort of...
aged him 2 more years.
bodybuilding contest. Every time I go on my Instagram, he's got photos up there. He's got some sort of contest to get into shape. Forget who it is. But he's in shape. I'll give him that. We had Mr. Anderson, Sam Shaw, and Gunner against the Bromans in a 6-man tag. The story of this match was Sam Shaw. He's a babyface now. And he got the hot tag. And
I'm not sure hot was the appropriate word.
First off, did you see him nearly fall as he tried to get into the ring?
I don't recall that specifically.
I rewound this at least 5 times. Because I had to witness in all of its glory this hot tag. God bless this guy. He was stuck in a terrible storyline with Christie and all that. But my God, I think, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, as I've said twice now, I'm sure he's a great guy. This may have been the worst babyface comeback I have ever seen on a nationally televised wrestling show. He looked like he had not had a week of training at your school, Lance. He was out of position. He missed 90% of the shots that he threw. He, at one point, he grabbed somebody by the head and they just fell down, which granted may not have been his fault. Although why you would do a fiery comeback and grab someone by the head, I don't know. And finally, as he's firing up and doing this comeback, Anderson went over to have words with him. Probably something about just stand in the middle and have everybody run at you instead of running around like a crazy man. And Robbie E. rolled him up for the pin. Sam apparently tried to make the save, but Gunner had his leg. And so Anderson was very pissed off afterwards. He pie-faced Sam Shaw. Gunner broke it up, and Anderson stormed out. This comeback, Lance. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was really bad. It just looked like push downs, I guess. He was out of position, and he was just pushing people down that didn't even look like he was. I don't know if he was hoping to be punching or clotheslining or what he was doing, but they just looked like push downs. But Sam Shaw, he came through the gut check, did he not?
God damn, I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was, the second or third guy hired through gut check. And then I think was sent to OVW, and perhaps when they discontinued OVW, he should have stayed. And then with the Christie program and playing Go Fish in the Asylum, perhaps he hasn't worked in a while. But yeah, that comeback was pretty ugly.
Shaw was a participant in the monthly gut check on Impact. Although his chances were nearly ruined after he was attacked by Ace and Eights, Shaw got a second chance the following week. He was defeated by Doug Williams in his gut check match. However, the gut check judges were impressed and gave him a contract. So there you go. He won gut check by losing.
Yeah, I think he was the guy that wrestled in like board shorts and a tank top or something.
It might have been, yeah. All right. Then we had Dixie telling King Mo that it was the end of Bully tonight. We had a commercial. Gunner was screaming at Anderson over what he did, screaming at him to give him a chance. And then Shaw came back and said, Ken is right. It was my fault we lost. And so Anderson began screaming, Ken's right! And stormed off. I guess he's turning heel.
I guess.
You don't care.
Not really. I don't understand why we're trying to give sexual predator Sam Shaw another chance. I don't get it.
Well, he's been rehabilitated. He went to prison, or he went to the institution, and he played a lot of cards with Gunner. So now he's better.
Ah, there we go. Sounds like logical treatment.
Sure. Then we had the Hardcore War. I have absolutely no idea why this aired at the top of the hour. I thought that this would lead immediately into Dixie getting put through the table, but no. Basically, it was war games, but no cages, and weapons were allowed. Somebody entered every 90 seconds. We started with EC3 and Dreamer. Rhino was out next. They were hitting each other with trash cans to the head, kendo sticks, that sort of thing. Devon was in next. Went to commercial. And when they came back, Snitsky was already in the ring, and Bully was on his way out. Ricklin was next. Ricklin and Snitsky both wrestled, as noted, in tank tops. Snitsky was as pale as could be. Came down to the final mystery guy, and it was Al Snow for the babyface team. They played it up like it was a big mystery, and apparently it was a shock to everybody except every single person in the crowd, since every single one of them had a mannequin head. So Bully did a high cross on his Snitsky and Ricklin. Almost called him Ritlin. Spud tried to interfere. All the baby faces were in the ring. He got killed. Snow did a diving headbutt with head to the balls. Al Snow did an acai moonsault to the outside, which Taz said he didn't even do that when he was in his prime. Which actually, I don't know if how often did Al do that moonsault? Did he do it regularly? I don't even remember.
I wouldn't say regularly, but I'm pretty sure I saw him do it a couple times in ECW. Wouldn't even be surprised if we did it once in Smoky Mountain way back when as well. But yeah, certainly not a regular thing, but I've seen him do it a few times. And
so then in the ring, Bully and Devon hit the 3D on Rhino and pinned him. Dixie was in the crowd weeping. If this was such a big deal, I have no idea why it aired at the top of the hour. And then Bully cut a promo on her saying, "Tick-tock, the clock is ticking on you." Vowed to put her through a table, and Dixie promised it was not happening, and instead King Mo was going to knock out Bully Ray. That was her threat. What do you think of this match?
Yeah, it was weird putting this in the middle of the show, and it was weird also having the weapons match in the, to start the show, and then this, which for the most part was a weapons match again. It seemed to be a lot of overkill being really close, but yeah, it was a weird flow to have them win, and then we'll wait an hour, and Dixie comes out for no reason other than to take the bump, from what I could tell. It seemed odd, and I'm not sure why you wouldn't just do this match last. with sort of the assumption that if Bully wins the match, he takes out all of Dixie's bodyguards, for lack of a different term, and gets to her. But if the heels win, then Dixie can then stand over Bully's body. So it was odd putting it at the top of the hour.
I think the storyline was the reason she came out at the end of the show was she was so confident that King Mo could knock out Bully Ray that she was unconcerned for her own health.
But even still, what was she going to do when she got there?
She's going to have King Mo knock out Bully Ray.
Oh, okay.
Poor planning on her part.
Yes.
We had EC...
Although not the worst decision she's made in her run as owner of TNA.
No, it is not. EC3 said Ricklin and Snitsky failed. Their job was, however, still to protect Dixie. He said if they failed at that, at least they still had King Mo, and he guaranteed that Dixie was not going through a table. Had the beautiful people out. They did not understand why anyone cared about Gail, Kim, and Taryn. Angelina said Velvet was hotter and Angelina was a better wrestler. She wanted her title rematch right now. Taryn came out instead. We got a classic Tiffany promo. The crowd was chanting "what?" which was inexplicable given her impeccable enunciation here in this promo. Angelina told her to hit the bricks. Gail came out. They bantered back and forth. Long story short, Gail announced a four-way next week for the title. It is Gail versus Taryn versus Angelina versus Velvet. Angelina, they're teasing dissension again between Angelina and Velvet. The crowd hated this segment, and quite frankly, it was pretty awful.
Yeah, this is one of those segments that I think since we've gone to writers become more and more common, where was there any reason why they couldn't just book this match rather than having them come out and spontaneously come up with it in this promo talking segment? Like, it really didn't serve any purpose. I'd have rather had them just announce that this four-way is booked, and it's like, could we not just do a backstage promo with each person talking about the match that's booked, rather than them out and talking and bragging and posturing and then eventually the match being announced via this promo segment. And it's not just TNA. There's a lot of, in WWE too, that it's just, why did we need to have this? And I don't know why we needed to have it.
It's one thing when you've got like people that can really do a promo back and forth, or they can really talk. If you got people that can really talk, then let them go out and do some sort of interview to set up a match. But God bless these girls, but like the crowd hated every bit of this. There was not good dialogue. They couldn't deliver their lines. It was a fail all around. I don't know why you would have picked these four to do this. There are plenty of people on this show that are good promos you could have done something like this with, but I guess they just wanted to get girls on television, and they were successful, I guess. We had Bully expressing no concern about King Mo. He vowed to knock out King Mo. And by the way, for those of you watching, he did in fact take out King Mo at the end of the show. We had Samoa Joe, Low-Ki, and Sonata. It's pretty good by three-way standards. I liked it because it was a mix of high spots. They did traditional wrestling, and they did some MMA-style submissions. Joe was sweating his ass off, working hard. Low-Ki always just works hard. Sonata's great. The finish, Joe almost had an armbar on Ki. Sonata broke it up with a moonsault, which, by the way, looked like it nearly broke Low-Ki's arm in the process. So with Ki outside, Sonata tried a rolling cradle on the giant Samoan. Bad move. Joe switched it into a choke, and he got the tap out before Ki had time to break it up. Finish kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere, but overall it was a pretty good match. Joe's the new champion, by the way.
Yeah. I'm almost never a fan of three-ways, so my opinion on this is biased. There was a lot of good stuff. I've always liked Low-Ki stuff. I've always been a fan of Joe. And this is really just the first or second time I've seen Sonata. But I think the biggest thing is, I did Jim Cornette's podcast a week or so ago, and we talked about hot shotting and doing too much stuff in one show, talking more about the Attitude Era. And this show was a lot of that to me, in that we had the weapons match to start the show, and then there was the multi-person weapons match that followed it, and then we had the multi-person weapons match followed by this multi-person match, and there was so much stuff going on, and there was a 6-man tag in there as well. There was just so many bodies doing so much stuff throughout this show that I had a hard time getting attached to anything. There was a lot of good stuff done in this match. And like I said, I've been a fan of a couple of the guys for a while, but I'd like something to slow down long enough that I could settle in with a little bit of drama, rather than just the moves. But, again, yeah, Joe's the new X Division champ.
It is possible this was edited as well. The finish kind of just came out of nowhere. It wasn't like it was a bad finish, but based on how long they went and the different, they'd broken up a lot of different things, and then he had him in the choke, and then dude just went to sleep. So I was caught off guard by it. It wasn't like a negative or anything like that. I just was wondering if maybe the actual match had gone longer and they had to edit it to fit it in this show. I don't know. And then finally we had Dixie and King Mo coming out. Again, she had faith in Mo, which unfortunately for her, given Mo's performance, she's going to fire him as well. She fired Snitsky. She fired Ricklin. She called them, and I quote, stupid has-beens. She was demanding all of the fans pack up and go home. Her exact words were, and I quote, pack your shit up and get out of here. So Bully and Devon came out with a table, had her name on it. They had words. King Mo punched Dreamer right in the face. Poor Dreamer, the setup guy here. He's just ranting, and King Mo just punched him in the face and laid him out. So Bully and Devon jumped the heels, cleared the ring with relative ease, actually. And Bully tackled King Mo, apparently killed him since he was never seen again. So that left Dixie in the ring with Bully and Devon. They were about to grab her when Spud dragged her to safety. The entire babyface locker room came out, demanded she get back in the ring, surrounded the ring like lumberjacks, are pounding on the apron. The crowd was actually like, they were more quiet than you would think here, because I think they thought that they were going to get screwed out of this again. But no. Devon grabbed her. He hoisted her up. Bully gave her the big power bomb to the center of hell through the table. Everybody went absolutely nuts. I got to say, Bully has delivered this to a lot of women in the past, and I'm not going to say that he didn't protect her, because he did protect her, but I don't think he protected her like he'd done to others in the past, or maybe she just didn't know what she was doing, but she landed hard. She landed hard on her upper back and the back of her head, body all folded over, looked like it sucked. And place went just absolutely crazy. They played Bully's music. They showed about a half dozen replays, and then played it up big like it was the end of Dixie. And I don't know. I don't really know what I thought about this. What were your thoughts?
First thing, I actually had to rewind to find out what happened to Mo. I guess I wasn't thinking. I'm like, how the hell did they get Mo out of here? It just seemed like he was there 1 minute and then he was gone, and it was like he just got tackled and punched out, which I thought was odd. I would have thought they'd treat Mo a little better than that. I think I understand they've been building it this long, but it just, I thought it was way too big of a bump for this woman to take. The landing looked like it really sucked. Her upper back and head and shoulders didn't hit anything but floor, or mat, I guess would be more appropriate. But she didn't. It didn't look like the fall was very comfortable, and in that regard, it was uncomfortable to watch. But it's the problem I had more when Vince was the diabolical heel, where you don't have. It's like, where do you go? Like, at least with Hunter, there's, he can always have a match. But it's like, okay, you killed Dixie and put her through the table. It's like, well, now what do you do? It was just sort of a, like, had their Spike contract ended tonight, it's like I'd go, you know what? Well, at least she went out with a bang and she did it. But it's like, I just felt like all right, we're done, thanks. And it's like, when the show ended, I didn't feel like there was any reason to ever tune in again. Like, it just felt like the blow-off of all blow-offs.
It's the blow-off of the entire promotion is what it was.
That's what it felt like. But they've got, they did TV tapings this week, and they've got another TV taping, I think, in September. But it was just weird. It was, especially when all the baby faces come out and kill Dixie, and it felt really weird. Now maybe it's just, they're writing off the Dixie character, and babyface Kurt will be the GM running the show now, and it'll just move forward. But I think the crowd went nuts, and I'm hoping they pulled a good rating with as much as they plugged. It's happening, it did happen, and National Put Your Boss to a Table Day. Because if it didn't pull a rating, then there's nothing they can do that will. But again, I don't know where you go from here.
I'm not a fan at all of this violence against women. But the one thing about this is Dixie is the owner, and she happens to be a woman. You know what I mean? And the storyline that they were doing all of these months was that, it's stolen straight out of WWE and Austin and Vince. She's the evil boss that everybody hates, and she's made everybody's life miserable for months and years. And finally, at the end of the day, the evil boss is going to get theirs. And as much as I don't like violence against women, it really would not be fair to be upset about this whole thing because, again, she just happens to be a woman who is playing the character of the boss. You know what I mean? To me, this was a little bit different than when you just beat up women because you want to beat up women. That's your storyline. This guy's got to beat up women so everybody can cheer. It could have been Vince Russo that went through this table. It could have been anybody. If Jeff Jarrett still owned the company, it would have been Jeff Jarrett. It just happens that the company is owned by a woman. It was a little disconcerting to see how excited everybody was that Bully Ray had killed this woman. And certainly from a real life perspective, Dixie is 48 years old. I don't even know what she was thinking, agreeing to go through this table at her age with no training. You can trust Bully Ray all you want, but I'll tell you something, Lance. I was in your ring, and we brought out that crash pad, your big 8-inch. It's an 8-inch gymnastics crash pad, and you were throwing me around on that thing. And remember, you gave me that big power bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Gave me that big power bomb into that blue mat, and I was like, "Fuck! If that blue mat hadn't have been here, that'd have hurt like a bitch." Now imagine if you would have done that off the middle rope and I had no training and I was 49 years old. She's going to be 50 in October. It's just crazy that she decided to do this. She's out of her mind. But she did it, so I guess more power to her. I don't even know what to say. There you go.
Yeah. I think you're right, though. I think they did a good job of making it feel like it was employee versus employer more than man-on-woman violence, because watching it, I never really felt that. I think they did a good job of finding that balance and making it feel more about she's the evil boss, she's getting what she deserves, and her being a she really doesn't enter into the story. I thought they did a good job of that, because it didn't feel like, a guy beating up a woman so much as it was the evil boss getting her due. But yeah, she was... Probably if she'd done a little bit more and had taken bumps before, she would have went, no way in hell I'm taking one that big. But maybe she thought, oh, this wrestling stuff's fake. It can't be that bad. Mae Young did it, not realizing that Mae Young's tougher than 90% of most men. But hopefully Dixie's all right. It certainly was a spectacular bump. And, you've got to at least take your hat off to her for having guts.
As far as I know, she's fine. There were a lot of rumors after it happened that she was hurt really bad. But the word I got was stories were blown out of proportion. She was banged up, and she may actually have broken a bone. I'm not sure but it didn't seem to be like a really, really serious injury or anything like that. But still, hopefully she's got it out of her system. She's taken her one bump, and now she's done with it. You know this, Lance. How many people do you know that, like, maybe they don't want to necessarily be wrestlers, but they want that opportunity to just, like, take that one bump? You know those people where you work for the promotion and, like, this guy's the ring announcer and he just wants to take a bump just once? You know what I mean? I don't know why, but some people have that desire.
Yeah, I think everybody in WWE at one point wanted to probably take a stunner.
Well, that's different. That's
a little safer.
That's not a power bomb off the middle rope.
This is true.
Have it be known, I don't ever want Bully Ray to power bomb me off the middle rope through a table. Just want everyone to know that right now.
I wonder if anyone showed Dixie the footage of Bubba dumping Vince McMahon from that position off to the floor before she took the bump.
Highly unlikely.
Probably not.
So overall, that was Impact, everybody. And as Lance noted, if this is the end of Impact, if it's over in October, I don't know why they bothered doing any more tapings, because this was like the best possible symbolic ending to this company. But they're going to keep going. So they're claiming that there's hope on the horizon, that it's not over yet, that they're still negotiating with Spike. I guess we'll see. So let's kind of talk a little bit about Impact here. We don't have to do a full report, but what did you think about the show here tonight?
It was fine. Yeah, I thought the Team 3D and Hardy's match was good. I don't think it was as good as people made it out to be, but it was good. It was definitely good. Not as good as the Wolves and Hardy's match. That match was great. The 6-man tag, which was Lashley and okay. Ooh.
Yes, I know the bum leg.
It's like you watch it and you just go, it just kills the match.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Forget the storyline thing here. Let me ask you a serious question. MVP's knee is really screwed up, right?
Yeah, that's legit.
Okay, so why the hell is the guy not getting surgery? I mean, it's like, when I see it as a fan, I don't know what the story is, but when I see it as a fan, I'm thinking, okay, this guy hurt his leg, and like they won't pay for his surgery, and he can't afford to get surgery, and so he's working with this bum leg on television. Well, I don't know if that's what happened, but that's what I think as a fan. And like that would never happen in WWE. So what's going on with his knee?
Would never happen in any sport, would it? I mean, what sport do you go into the battlefield on crutches and then hobble around while you're playing the sport? It doesn't happen.
It's ridiculous. What's he waiting for? Why is he not getting surgery? What is the state of his knee?
Well, now he's okay. I mean, this was a taping from a month ago, and I mean, at the tapings this past week, he was able to do matches. It's a torn meniscus. It's the same injury that Jones has, who had surgery, and that Cormier has, who didn't have surgery. He probably should have surgery. He could probably get away with not having it. He probably made the decision not to have it. But he shouldn't have been working in match. I mean, if you need crutches to get to the ring, you really should just be taking the time off.
And God, you make the other guys look stupid. They're being beaten by a one-legged man.
And I mean, he's hobbling around. I know. And here's the other thing. It was a 6-man tag. It's like they could have done a tag match. They could have Bobby Lashley and Kenny King against two of those three guys.
Yeah.
It's not, or they could get a third partner if they want to get a third partner. He doesn't have. I mean, yeah. It's just I don't understand. I mean, the minute you have a guy go to the ring on crutches and then work when you know it took crutches to get him to the ring, you pretty much have told everyone that, like, this is bullshit, and it's just ridiculous. So yeah, the match itself was all right though. I mean, they had a lot of good wrestlers in there and everything. They had an X Division match, which was an elimination match, and I think it was like about 7 minutes to do 5 eliminations. And inherently,
it's just
inherently, if you're on the writing team, you should just make it a first pinfall, because there's nothing. I mean, if you have to do 5 eliminations in 7 minutes, it's impossible for the match not to just be completely ridiculous. So, I mean, they had a lot of cool moves and everything like that.
It was just all cool moves and eliminations, and guys were getting eliminated like every minute on average.
Every minute, yeah.
It was impossible. I mean, When you do a match like that, I don't understand what the point of the eliminations are because every single guy that gets eliminated, you look like a geek. You're getting pinned. This move pins you. This guy gets pinned. This guy gets pinned. And why they couldn't have just announced that Low Key and Homicide are having a number one contenders match. Let them have 7 minutes.
Yep,
it would have been way better.
Yep. No, I mean that's a failure of the writing. That's a failure of the writing team because you can just look at that on a piece of paper and just go, okay, if we got 7 minutes, I mean this isn't going to work. So they did it anyway. But yeah, why does it have to be a multiple person match anyway? They could have just had. They could have had a 3-way. They could have had a 2-way. They could have just gone for a first pin if they wanted to do 6-way. Whatever it is, that was, and then the 4-way women's match, that match wasn't any good. I mean, it's funny because I'm watching this and, the fans are, the fans are kind of weird there anyway. And I'm not all of them, but I mean, some of the ones that were chanting. I mean, because in one of the matches they were chanting, and I think it was, which match did they like pretty much kill with the chants? Was that the women? Was the women's match? The one where they were chanting the Adam Rose theme song?
I don't even remember that. May have been the women's match.
Yeah, they were chanting the Adam. I just remember one match and watching it going like, these are the fans of TNA, and they're making TNA look so minor league.
Actually, they seemed like they were kind of into the women's match because they were doing all this crazy dives and everything like that. So was it Anderson and Gunner?
Yeah, you know what? It might have been it might have been the Gunner match. Yeah. Then that was like a 3-minute match, which was actually that match was just like because Sam Shaw ran in. I mean, that match just felt like it was a waste of time and didn't even have any purpose. I guess it's to advance that storyline, but it was so quick, and then the run-in was just there, and then they in typical TNA fashion, they just ran right off it, so it had no. It like when it was over, it was like, it might as well not have even done it. It had no impact at all.
Yeah.
But I thought the women's match. I mean, Taryn Terrell did a nice dive and everything, but I thought that match was pretty bad. And I thought was humorous to me was the people chanting better than divas because with the exception of Eva Marie, I don't think that any of the, I mean, Gail Kim's a good wrestler, but she was in there with, Angelina didn't look good. Velvet looked terrible. Taryn Terrell, she did a cool dive. But I mean, the thing is that like, of the WWE women, I mean, with the exception of Eva Marie and maybe, Rosa Mendez. But I mean, for the most part, the WWE women that are being featured now, like Naomi and AJ and Paige and Natalia, and even Brie Bella are much better than they're not better than Gail Kim, but they're better than the other 3 women here. So it was kind of like the fans are, I don't know. It was just something to chant, I guess. But I mean, when you watch this crappy match and they're chanting better than divas, it's kind of like telling you like, are you guys watching this, or are you just chanting to have fun? Which is actually what they were doing. It's just chanting to have fun.
So that was those were the highlights of Impact, and as noted, Dave is getting ready to leave for the SummerSlam weekend. We've got to talk about a couple of things from the last couple of days. Number one, we didn't even do a SummerSlam preview, so we'll do that. But what's up with Del Rio? He's apparently got a new name. And then a Rey Mysterio update as well.
Well, Ray is he's under contract at WWE, and that's not going to change. I mean, he's going to be under contract at WWE for until the end of April. So, and that's it. I mean, I don't know what he's going to do, but he can't get out of it, and that's the end. That's the end of the deal.
So unless he wants to do something really dumb.
Like what?
Like show up anyway.
He can't. I mean, show up where?
No, I mean, he could if he wanted to really,
Triple A's not going to risk a lawsuit from WWE.
Steve's theory was this would be a deal where Televisa, if they did something with Ray and there was some sort of lawsuit, Televisa would square off against WWE since they've got tons of money.
Yeah, but Televisa is not squaring off with WWE. It's not happening. I mean, I've talked to people at AAA, and they are, and they said at the press conference as well, when a reporter brought up Rey Mysterio's name, Joaquin Rodon just said, like, we're not talking to him. We're not tampering with his contract, because in theory, that's tampering with his contract. Now, obviously, Conan and Ray probably talk all the time. So as far as are they, because they're buddies. Now as far as so I'm sure that they speak, but I mean as far as AAA talking to Rey Mysterio on any kind of official basis, that would be tampering, and they're not going to get into a tampering lawsuit with WWE. So there's nothing going to happen. I mean, that's just it. It's and nothing's going to happen until May of next year. As far as Del Rio goes, they were under the impression that Del Rio could wrestle. This was as of yesterday, and then as of today, that changed again, and now WWE, I guess, made it real clear that Del Rio cannot go for 90 days. So he's on a 90-day thing, and WWE, and I don't know.
But he can appear?
He's going to be a guest, and he's going to wave, and he's going to be there. I don't know. He said he can't wrestle for 90 days, so I don't know. But WWE is desperately, and that's not even the right word, but WWE is trying to push a 1 year or 11-month or 10-month non-compete in the United States, which is essentially to keep them away from TNA. For Mexico, it's going to be 90 days.
Why the hell are they so worried about TNA? Are they aware of what's going on?
It's just that's how they are. I mean, that's just how they are. I mean, look.
Yeah, but listen, hold on. Let me just say one thing. When you're in the middle of cost cutting, and I mean, Del Rio, he's not making $50,000 a year. This is a substantial contract to pay out for 11 months just because you're afraid a guy is going to go to a company that may not even have TV in October.
Well, I would think that if they don't have TV in October, they'll probably have a different attitude, huh?
Well, probably, but I mean, the point stands. I mean, even if they do have TV, it's not like this place is knocking them dead. Yeah,
I mean, they whatever they say publicly, I mean, the reality is that they don't want guys going to TNA. I mean, they, look at the Chael story. What does that tell you? I mean, that is a story told by Chael, but I get your point. But it is something that would happen, yes. Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense because that is, what they do. I mean, look at JR. I mean, JR was under contract to. Did you like that they showed JR's tweet tonight? Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it?
That was funny.
I mean, I guess it was funny. It's kind of. It still makes, like if you watch that show, I mean, the one thing about watching TNA is that they sure make it clear that they're not the major league all throughout their show.
Oh, God, when Jeff Hardy and Matt and Team 3 are out there and they're talking about is their great WWE matches together.
15 freaking years ago.
Oh, my God.
In 1999 and 2000. I mean, they were great matches, but I mean, it's like they're talking about we made history. It's like, you made history in WWE. Like, I mean, doesn't anyone make history in this company? I mean, I know the answer is no, but pretend it's your company. You write your own scripts. Pretend that you have history yourself. Yeah. But no, they talk about, I mean, do you think like if the roles were reversed, okay? If the roles were reversed and I mean, when WWE brought in, like again, Harley Race and Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk and all those guys, they never. Do you think that they do you think that and Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes went all over the place? Okay, do you think that they had Terry Funk go in there and talk about, 15 years ago, me and Dusty Rhodes, we made history? The hell you're going to do that, right? Well, I mean, Dusty wasn't in the company at the time, but you could. Harley Race was. You know what I mean? You could go in and say that, or you could say. When Pedro Morales wrestled Harley Race, you could say, wow, this is a dream match of former world champions. They didn't even acknowledge that kind of stuff because it's like, if it's not in our company, then it didn't happen. That's the thing. And I'm not saying, I used to think that was kind of insulting, but, and I didn't really mind what they did on the show, but, when they start talking about, when we were at the Houston Astrodome, it's like, God, why don't you just say that you're freaking in a Mickey Mouse company because you're in this building, with, this tiny little building in New York City, and you're talking about how you used to be in the Astrodome, which is 60,000 seats or more. I don't know. Yeah. But I mean, again, that's been TNA for years. They've always, you watch TNA and they'll tell you WWE is the major league right on their own show.
It opened with Bram versus Abyss in a Stairway to Janice match. The gimmick was they had Janice, the board with nails in it, hanging above the ring, and whoever got her first could use it. So they did not waste time breaking out the hardcore stuff. A ladder came into the ring. Abyss hit a very scary belly-to-belly overhead suplex onto the ladder in the corner. I want you all to think about the art and the technique and the body style you need to throw a good belly-to-belly suplex. Abyss has none of these. He's tall, he's awkward, and his technique is not particularly good. And as a result, Bram did not flip over onto his back and basically went face first into this ladder. And then Taz, who was in fact a human suplex machine, began to list all the things that Abyss did wrong on the suplex. I enjoyed that. So, they worked really hard. They did terrible damage to themselves. They used the aforementioned ladder, barbed wire boards, trash cans to the head. Fans were so entertained by this, they were chanting for fire.
Fire.
Mm-hmm. They did not get the fire. They used thumbtacks. And after all this, Bram went and he was able to climb the ladder and grab Janice. And then he missed with Janice, and Abyss hit a black hole slam into the thumbtacks. This was after Bram had already sliced up his back going through barbed wire. And then Bram recovered, and he kicked Abyss low and hit him with Janice to the gut for the win. Fans really liked it. It was completely different from what you will see on Raw these days. Lord, that's true. And they were pushing it hard that Bram had now beaten Abyss 3 times in a row. No one had ever done that before, so they put it like a big win, so that's good. And death matches are not my cup of tea, but they did a good job of teasing the biggest spots and actually building drama, so good for them.
When the fans chanted for fire, it's just kind of like, you know why they chanted for fire? Is because they've done all of these matches, and we've seen this. This was, they already did the hardcore match. They've already done thumbtacks. They've already done barbed wire. They've already done the nail covered in boards. So what more is there to see except fire, which they didn't get? I don't know. My 2 questions are, why is Bram doing this? He's already been fired from WWE. Mm-hmm. He's not going to get him a WWE job if he hadn't been fired. He's killing himself. He's like a talented guy. Why he's doing this, I have absolutely no idea. And furthermore, like they're doing like a program, and why would you not build to this stuff? You know what I mean? Like why wouldn't you in the first match just like have a wrestling match, and then in the second match you've got kind of a hardcore match and you break a table. Then in the third match you bust out like the board or whatever. And then the last match, everybody goes into barbed wire, thumbtacks, and everything like that. Why would you not build to this? Like, they did all this in the first match, now they're just doing it again.
This was the first Impact I've watched in a month.
Oh, they did this almost exact same match a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I watched this with our buddy Sean. It was, in fact, the first time he'd ever watched an episode of Impact all the way through.
Gotta be kidding me.
I was so jealous when I heard that news. He was shocked and horrified to learn it was 2 hours. And I just assured him it used to be much worse when it was 2 horrible hours. But he had kind of the same thoughts you did. Why are they doing this? He wanted to know how old Bram was, so I looked it up. Bram is 28.
Oh, yeah. 28 years old.
Sliced himself to ribbons. EC3 cut a promo backstage. He basically said he would hold responsible those who were responsible for his family's woes.
By the way, have you ever noticed that, I don't know what it is, must be just because it's TNA, but only in TNA do like ladders break and bend and fall apart in these matches. You know what I mean? Like they did the spot where they were going to tip the ladder over and Abyss fell into the barbed wire board. And as they're tipping it, the ladder just like bends in half and collapses. It's like, why does this only happen in this company? This never happens in WWE.
If you ever go to the hardware store and just walk through the ladders, there's actually a wide range of ladders available.
Sure.
Some of them are very sturdy and expensive. Some of them are flimsy and cheap.
Yeah.
Guess which company is buying which ladder?
Well, I guess so.
Yeah. So Ethan, Spud, and Rhino came out for a promo. First, I was blown away by Ethan's haircut. He shaved the sides and kind of spiked it forward. And then I laid my eyes upon the young man known as Spud.
Oh my! That's the first thing I wrote in my notes was Spud's haircut.
What in the hell? Imagine if you had, this is the best I can do. Imagine if you grew out a pompadour, then you used a very, very powerful blow dryer to just brush it straight up and back, and then on a whim, shave the sides of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, he was wearing a carnation pink suit that was 2 sizes too big.
It was probably a small.
It's probably it's probably in the grown-up section. Actually, I have no idea where you find a carnation pink suit of any size. So Ethan vowed revenge on Bully Ray for putting Dixie through a table. Was that last week or the week before?
I believe that was 2 weeks ago because last week they announced that she would be doing her interview this week.
I see. So he was holding Bully Ray responsible for this, but there was someone else he was holding responsible, and that was, in fact, Rhino. Because Rhino was a hired gun who had failed at his job, and he didn't know what he'd been paying this money for. Then Rhino could take no more. He said, I'd rather be dirt poor than take your money. You can stick it up your ass. And then Ethan snapped. He slapped him in the face. A brawl broke out, and a funny thing happened. Ethan wiped the floor with him. Just destroyed him. Spud was trying to make peace, but Ethan was having none of it. And in the end, he dropped Rhino with a knee lift, and he left. Spud was horrified. Rhino was dead. Ethan's been around, I guess, like a year. I think this is the first time he was ever portrayed as a badass.
Well, it takes a while for them to figure this stuff out.
I guess so.
I thought Rhino had awesome delivery in this segment. Spud's hairdo was just... anytime I see a hairdo that I've never had, I'm like, wow, that's a shitty hairdo. That's a bad hairdo. Ethan's was just kind of like it's kind of a similar hairdo, except Spike's, I can't even explain Spike's.
It really wouldn't have been any different at all if there had been just just a little bit of growth on the sides of his head. The fact that he shaved his sides made it a little weird.
Well, at least it was, at least with Ethan, it was blended.
Okay.
But
you're right.
Spike just had a shelf.
It did.
He just had a shelf.
It was a deep drop off, essentially.
Yes, it was unbecoming, which was the point.
Just say ugly.
Well, I've seen ugly haircuts. I don't know if I could. It's pretty ugly.
It wasn't a good haircut.
It was not a good haircut. It was not a good look. But that's the point. He's Spud.
He is Spud. I agree with you there.
It was, I will say this. It was one of those haircuts where I presume he's got to always be wearing a hat when he's not in character.
Oh, God, yeah.
At least Ethan.
Maybe even a do-rag.
Ethan could go probably through society with that haircut and he'd be fine. Spud, not so much.
Samoa Joe cut a backstage promo on Low Key, saying that Low Key's confidence would be his undoing. Hardy's cut a backstage promo, said they did not reunite for a one-time thing. They wanted to prove they were still the best tag team in the world. Matt said there's a resurgence in the tag team division in TNA. He proceeded to name 3 teams, one of which was his own.
Quite a hell of a resurgence.
Man. We had a cool Joe Low Key hype video. And then we got Samoa Joe versus Low Key for the X title.
Excellent match. Yes,
it was. It was every Samoa Joe Low Key match you've ever seen, and that is in no way a complaint. They busted their asses, first of all. Clubbing on each other, slamming each other around, running all over the place. Everyone in perfect position for everything all the time. It was a great, great match. Low Key has dumped his scuba diver outfit and now just looks like a wrestler again. That's good. You're talking about getting back in the ring. Taz has been retired for like a decade now, maybe more. And even when they did like the ECW reunion in this company and the others, he did not want to get back in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about, this match is so great, I want to wrestle again.
Well, it was this match in front of that New York crowd, which is just going crazy.
That probably helped too.
This was a great match, and the amazing thing about it was Low Key can be a difficult performer in some ways. But he went in there, and his role was, I'm going to have a match with the champion. The champion is the better man, and he is going to defeat me. And that is exactly what they did. And it wasn't even like low-key took most of the match.
No.
They kind of had a back-and-forth match, but mostly it was Samoa Joe just beating the hell out of him. And then low-key made a comeback, and then he got pinned.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was very, very good. Very good. Hardy's met with Team 3D backstage. Literally, that's all that happened. Borash interviewed Mr. Anderson, who said Sam Shaw was a creepy bastard, and Gunner was an idiot for bringing Shaw back. And then Shaw arrived to defend Gunner's honor. Because if there's one man in this company who can't fight for himself, it's Gunner.
Yeah.
So they got into a brawl.
I was astonished that Sam Shaw's now got a creepy mustache.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah.
I missed that.
I couldn't figure out why they didn't give it to him when he was being a creep. They were doing every other cliche.
I was gonna say, that would be too obvious.
Every cliche in the book they do with this guy. But they didn't give him a mustache until he was supposedly no longer a creep.
So it was Mr. Anderson versus Sam Shaw in an I Quit match. I like how they're having this I Quit match. In the middle of it, Gunner comes out to try to make peace. Little late.
Perfect timing.
Little late there.
Crowd was dead for this.
It sucked. There's a reason that they were dead. The highlight to me was when Shaw grabbed a mic, and in this I Quit match, he goes up to Anderson, who's selling, and he grabs him by the head and says, "You say you're sorry to Gunner." And then he didn't. So then Shaw said, "Say I quit." And I immediately thought, Shaw should be the loser right there. Shaw just said, "I quit." He quit. You should lose this match. And Anderson was thinking the same thing because he said, "You quit." It didn't work. So then after a few minutes of crappy brawling, Mr. Anderson put on an arm bar. And I don't mean the cross arm breaker that they call in pro wrestling. There's an actual jiu-jitsu hold that will break your arm. He used an arm bar that is used as a rest hold in every match since about 1950.
Did you watch my match with Buddy?
No. Were there a lot of arm bars?
No, but you've got to watch it.
All right.
He puts me in this same hold.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
As a spot during the heat. And as he puts me in the hold, he goes, "Ask him." And of course, I say no. And Buddy goes, "Ask him. I've beat men with this hold." Fucking died. This match is worth it for the byplay inside the ring.
There's one. It was one of the Bryan and Vinny versus Buddy and Richie matches. He had you in a headlock on the mat, and he was talking to Richie, but I could hear him. He says, "Watch this," and he reached over and he grabbed your foot or something. He just grabbed it, and you sold extra, and then he just let go, and he said, "I just made that up."
Yeah.
Wrestling can be fun, can't it?
It sure can. I had a great time.
Yeah.
It was the best time.
So anyway, Mr. Anderson won this I Quit match with an arm bar.
So see, Buddy was right.
I guess so.
The referee should have asked me. He's beaten men with this hold.
Yeah. So then Gunner jumped in the ring just to make sure Anderson stopped there, and Anderson did. Hardys and Team 3D finished their meeting, and Ray said the Hardys had an idea that would revitalize tag team wrestling. Spoiler alert, their idea was to have a match. Gail Kim, this is actually from last week. She was cutting a backstage promo when Angelina attacked her. Their brawl in this backstage promo was much better than the brawling in the Sam Shaw Mr. Anderson I Quit match. And then they had Angle saying that Angelina did not deserve a title match for the way she had been behaving, but Gail was demanding it, and so he was granting the champion her wish. Kurt Angle is an excellent babyface authority figure.
It was actually funny because he was so Mean Gene. He even did a thumbs up and a yeah as he got off screen.
Yes.
That's funny.
He's really good at this. Bobby Roode cut a promo hyping up the cage match. Hardys came out for a promo, called out Team 3D. They both acted all chummy. Devon had some awesome sunglasses. So they were talking about the history, and the fans were chanting one more time. And they both said they wanted to be champions, and so they called out the Wolves. Last time I saw the Wolves in a segment like this, they came out in the worst suits ever. This time they just had jeans and button-up shirts and looked a million times better.
I don't know. Davy's plaid shirt was not the. I don't know. It looked like two like lumberjacks coming out to do this thing. Eddie's was all right, but
Eddie's a little nicer.
Something about the plaid shirt I just wasn't a fan of.
Yeah. So they put the other two teams over as legends, said either team can get a title shot whenever they wanted, and then the segment just ended.
Yeah.
No one booked anything, no one challenged anyone. They all just said, we're all great, and it stopped.
Well, Kurt did that later on, so it made sense.
Mike Tenay interviewed Dixie Carter in her bed. I'm not making that up.
No. Well, he wasn't in her bed, but she was in the bed.
He was on her bed.
He was on her bed. That is true.
Yeah. Wasn't a very nice looking bedroom. So she talked about after going through the table, they went to the ER and got an MRI. She had a broken back. They went all out with this. They busted out the skeleton graphic showing specifically which vertebrae were broken.
That's right.
She talked about how these vertebrae were very difficult to break, and then how traumatic it was to watch herself going through this table. And as she was talking about how she could only bear to watch it one time, they showed about 47 replays.
Well, thank God she didn't have a monitor there.
So good for them. Good for them. So this whole promo was like 2 or 3 minutes of a question and answer, and they were playing sad victim, like she was a victim of all this, or sad music, like she was a victim of all this, and she may pass away. She said she was going to focus her efforts on business outside the ring, but promised we had not seen the last of her. Then the music stopped. She says, "Okay, interview over." She pulls out a whistle. She blows a shrill note, and then calls for Surge to come serve her.
Surge.
This is a very strange mix of drama and comedy.
Well, when I first watched it was kind of like, okay, because she's in the bed and she's being kind of like, she's not explain it. She's coming off sympathetic. They've got the music, they've got the wacky music, and I was sitting there just watching it, going, okay. So Dixie's going to be gone for a while, and then she's going to come back as like a baby face. That's what I thought when I watched it. And then, as it turns out, then she just became a shrew again at the end. So apparently she's not going to be turning babyface, but it was a weird little segment. I'll say that.
Yeah. We had...
I think she really did break a bone, too, but I don't think it was quite as serious as they made it out to be.
Well, I hope not.
Wouldn't be surprised, given how Bully nearly killed her.
She bounced, which is not good.
No, I don't know how that went wrong. I mean, the explanation was, they said something like she jumped too far or something like that, and it's like, jumped? That doesn't make any sense. She was completely at his mercy during that spot. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. But I think she had a minor broken bone. Nothing like too serious. It was but she's fine. She just did the ice bucket challenge. How bad could she be?
Oh, there you go. Plus ice is good for injuries.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Might have been part of her rehab.
We had a video of James Storm with his long dark hair and his scraggly beard out in the woods with a follower talking about being the salvation and the light. And if this sounds like he was acting like a Bray Wyatt ripoff, it's because he was acting like a Bray Wyatt ripoff.
That's what we need.
Yeah. So the gimmick is he's got Sonata and he's torturing him and he's going to turn him into the Great Sonata.
That's right.
They promised that would debut next week.
The Great Sonata.
Anthony Love and Gail Kim in the last knockout standing match.
What'd you think of this match?
Good. I had heard better. I had heard reports that it did not. I'd heard praise about it that they did not live up to.
I watched it and it was sort of like, first off, I fucking hate the match where Velvet is a second.
Right.
And it's a no holds barred match. And so she keeps interfering.
Over and over and over again.
And it's sort of like, why don't you just get in the ring and do a 2-on-1 match?
I wrote down here, it was essentially a handicap match.
If you're not going to be DQ'd, then just get in the ring and beat the hell out of this girl. Why that part infuriated me. And then the whole match was just like a mixed bag. Like in parts, it was brutally boring. But then, like at the end, they had some really good spots, and the finish was good. And they worked their asses off for the most part. So overall, I got to give it like 1 thumb up. I can't give it 2 thumbs up. And I wish they would have just done something and just got Velvet out of there because it was just so stupid.
No, I agree with that. It would have been better as just a one-on-one match, or even just have someone in Gale's corner to keep Velvet from interfering. But for what it was good. Like I say, I did not live up to the hype I had heard, but it was good. Their brawling was much, much, much better than Sam Shaw and Mr. Anderson. And after a bunch of interfering, Velvet went for a pedigree, but Gale broke that up, threw her out of the ring, then had a Super Samoan drop onto a chair. Angelina is too skinny to be taking these moves.
Yes.
And apparently she, in fact, was too skinny to take this move because she could not get up. So Gale won. These women worked very hard to beat the crap out of each other.
By the way, did you hear that Rebel ended up suffering a broken leg in a match?
I did not hear that.
Yes, she suffered a broken leg in, I believe, her second match. Do you know who was in her first match?
I have no idea.
I believe they did a tag team match, but her and Velvet Sky opposed each other.
In her first match ever.
Can you believe that?
Was that worse than Eva Marie's matches in NXT?
I haven't seen it because it hasn't aired yet.
Oh. Didn't you... Somewhere in one of the newsletters I edited, I thought you talked about an Eva Marie match.
No, that one... Yes, that one was terrible. I thought you were talking about the I haven't seen the Rebel match yet. That one hasn't taken place.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, that one's still to come. But yeah, Eva Marie's match on NXT, I should have made you watch that one.
I was scanning Christy Hemi's Twitter feed today. If you missed it, she did a very creative way to announce that she is pregnant to the world. But she also had a link to...
What did she do?
She did a series of pictures with her, the father of the child, the man with whom she is in love. And
it's not Sam Shaw?
It is not, in fact, Sam Shaw.
Oh, man.
But they're all just dressed up to the nines, and it's a series. They pose with different little titles over it. One says, Once upon a time, 2 people fell in love, and then they got a great gift. And then, of course, the gift is that she's pregnant. But I bring this up because she retweeted a photo from Rebel's Twitter feed. And Rebel tweeted out a picture of herself leaning against a car in very small hot pants.
Really?
Yeah. And Christy retweeted this with the comment, "Now that is a butt." And she's correct.
Yeah, let's check this out.
Yeah.
Well, that's Rebel, all right.
It sure is.
I haven't seen the picture yet. I presume it would be in photos and videos, right?
I would think so.
Apparently she does a lot of tweeting because I can't find it. When did she tweet this out? Is it on Christy Hemi's Twitter?
It was, well, I saw it on Christie's.
Okay, you saw it on Christie's Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. This is very important, everybody. Just stand by.
At Hemi Powered.
Okay, I found that. Okay, here we go. Dare to be rebellious. See her new KO section at Impact Wrestling. Is that it?
Now I can't find it. Where'd it go?
Oh, my God. Don't tell me it was pulled.
This would be a tragedy.
It must be on that Knockout site. Let me go check it out. No, I don't see it there either.
Where the hell did it go? Now I feel bad.
Oh, man,
Vinny.
Vinny.
All from June 12th.
Come on. Well, I don't see it, buddy. You just let everybody on. There is a picture of her straddling on the front of a Jeep.
That's
with Nux.
Okay, no, that's not it. There. Okay, go to Christie's page at Hemi Powered.
Okay.
Just her main list of tweets.
Okay.
Go down to. In fact, you just scroll down and do a search for the word "butt." It's from August 20th.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, click the link in that tweet. Oh, it does say that page doesn't exist.
Oh, man, dude. You idiot.
Don't blame me. I didn't pull it.
Must have been a hell of a butt.
I can confirm that much.
Pulled by the internet.
I guess so. Well, I do feel better, actually. It's not my fault.
Yeah. She was leaning on a truck.
Truck or a car? You're searching for Rebel TNA car?
Well, Rebel TNA butt.
Huh.
That's what I choose.
How'd that go?
Well, I mean, it's great, but certainly not the one.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go on here.
Yeah. Oh, where in the hell were we? Kurt Angle announced there will be a tag team series.
This was the one where he was Mean Gene.
Yes.
This was great.
It would be the Wolves versus the Hardys versus Team 3D in a series of matches. The winner of each match would then get to pick the steps for the next match, and then the first team to win 2 matches would win the series and the tag team titles. I assume that he was supposed to say the first team to win 2 matches in a row. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, just the first to win 2.
All right.
Yeah, so whoever wins the match chooses the steps for the next match.
Yeah.
And so if they win that match, they win the series.
Okay.
If they don't win the match, then the next team chooses the stip.
Mm-hmm.
So basically all of the teams are going to win.
Yeah, and then someone will win twice.
Somebody will win twice, yeah. So 4 matches.
MVP and his crew came out for a promo. Thank God somebody finally got Kenny King some decent clothes. So MVP ran down all the names that Lashley had beaten. Eric Young, Jeff Hardy, Austin Aries. Said they were all great challengers, but Lashley had thwarted them, and he did not sweat whoever was going to win this cage match.
Lashley looks like such a champion.
He is a great champion, and MVP is a great manager.
Yes.
MVP must be on crutches forever. And just talk about how tough Lashley is, and just have Lashley stand there and look terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
This is a perfect pro wrestling act. The 6-way cage match for the number 1 contender spot, it was Austin Aries versus Eric Young versus James Storm versus Bobby Roode versus Gunner versus Magnus. It was all 6 guys in the ring. First man out wins. This immediately turned into such a cluster that they were just doing a spot where they would grab each other's head and throw each other into the cage, and they started getting in each other's way, even though there were 6 sides of the cage to choose from.
That's right.
Thankfully, they then did spots where one guy would tease, well, basically 4 guys would fight in the corner and 2 guys would do stuff in the ring. And it was fun. It was not a lot memorable.
It was all right, but it's for the number 1 contendership against this beast, Bobby Lashley. And the rules are you have to flee to win a title shot. Couldn't even do like first pinfall as the number 1 contender. It's escape the cage rules.
Yeah. So, they did do a cool triple submission spot. They did a double stacked up stupidplex spot, which wasn't nearly as scary, it turned out, as I thought it was going to be.
I got to say, if I am ever asked to do that spot, or if you are, Vinny, be the guy executing the powerbomb.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's the best place to be.
Now, the 2 guys doing the powerbombs here were, in fact, Bobby Roode and Eric Young.
The 2 smartest guys in the ring.
And it actually built into the finish, because they were the only 2 men left standing. And they began to climb out opposite sides of the cage. Then they realized the other guy was climbing, and it turned into a race. And they both scurried over the cage, and they did the Hulk Hogan Paul Orndorff finish, where it was a photo finish and 1 ref raising each guy's hand. And when it went off the air, there was still chaos. We did not know who had won. It was a decent little wrestling show.
Yeah, I presume that they do the... I didn't even remember the spoilers. I presume they do a singles match next week to determine who gets the championship. I know Bobby Roode ends up getting the title match. But I think when they filmed this, if I recall correctly, the timing was wrong. And I think Eric Young may have hit the floor way too early or something like that. But they did, on TV, it looked like a photo finish. They actually, what they did was they took a shot of both guys dropping from opposite sides and put them side by side on the screen. And they both did hit at the exact same time. So however they did that was pretty good. So
I wish they'd had Taz saying, Eric's legs are straight, Rude's legs are bent. This proves what one guy won.
Eric's legs are shorter, though. So Rude would have won. Yeah, it's fine. It was a fine little show. All right. This Impact show, everybody. Main event I thought was very, very good. But I don't know if it's because the show was pre-taped. I don't know if it's because it was moved to Wednesday and we're watching it even later than usual, but the show just kind of feels boring.
Well, to be fair, it was.
Oh. So it wasn't just me.
No.
Meh.
It was a boring show with a really good main event.
What the hell is the main event of Bound for Glory? We're a month away. I have no idea.
Is that going to be in Japan?
Yes. Apparently, it's going to be in an empty arena in Japan, and it will feature no matches. It's the best I've figured out so far.
That will be original.
Yeah.
That will be memorable.
Think of all of the years that we were subjected to, like the Bound for Glory tournament.
That's right. They didn't do it this year.
And it was months and months and
me.
months. And then all of a sudden at the end of the thing, they were like, oh shit, we're out of time. Let's just end this thing. But all of the work that used to go into Bound for Glory, their WrestleMania. And now here we are. It is August 29th. The show is like a month away. I have no idea what the main event is. I'm watching this show, and they're setting up a number one contender for Bobby Lashley. And that match takes place on television. That match has already been taped. Like, I don't know what they're doing for Bound for Glory. It's the craziest thing.
So Kurt Angle appeared in the stands. He ran down the card. Said he would sit down with Bobby Roode and Eric Young to determine a top contender. Isn't he in charge? Shouldn't he have determined this sometime in the prior week?
I was kind of concerned as to, A, why he's always in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And B, why he had an entire week to find out the number one contender. He didn't do it. And then he decided he was going to figure out during the show.
And let them tell him what to do.
Stu needs to get his shit together.
This is poor leadership. Lashley and his crew arrived. MVP immediately buried fans with smartphones and 140 characters who thought they could book matches. It was the first of many shots at the critics of this company.
Wow.
They're very insecure. Lashley, by the way, was wearing American Top Team gear. I felt that was notable.
It was cool. So was the name The Destroyer.
Yeah.
What a great name for Lashley.
For him, yes.
Yeah.
He destroys people. So MVP buried New York fans in New York City who had a joke about cops and chokeholds.
Hilarious.
Very tasteful.
Yeah.
He declared Lashley the king of New York. Lashley held up his belt and looked scary, and he is very, very good at holding up belts and looking scary. He's terrified. Out came Tommy Dreamer, who did not look scary.
God bless Tommy Dreamer, but no legitimate athletic commission anywhere in this country would sanction this fight.
At his peak, Tommy Dreamer was never a bodybuilder, and his peak was a decade and a half ago. When you're wearing a shirt and you still look flabby, it's bad on TV. So he started putting over all three guys, said they were better than this kind of cheap heat, and that's exactly what he said. They blindsided him, and he grabbed a stick to defend himself, and Angle said, everyone stop, and he booked Lashley versus Dreamer in a street fight for right now. So it was Lashley versus Tommy Dreamer in a street fight that, you were correct, no sanctioning body would allow. It was exactly what you'd expect. Lashley beat him up and threw him around for a while. Dreamer made a comeback with a bunch of weapons. Lashley cut him off, speared him to death, and pinned him.
And by to death, Tommy Dreamer took a worse bump for the spear than most of what he did in ECW. Flipped over, landed right on his shoulder. Looked like he nearly killed himself. Yeah. I did not take Tommy Dreamer versus Bobby Lashley very seriously.
No.
It was quite a difficult task.
Dreamer, we made fun of his Twitter pants, but at least it was gear. He appeared to be wearing a plain black t-shirt and off-the-rack sweatpants. It's very ghetto. Madison Rayne got a promo backstage. She was happy about getting a top contenders match, but unhappy that Taryn Terrell was getting all the attention. Sam Shaw.
It's the bane of my existence.
It was the worst angle of all time I ever saw. And then, it was still stupid, but I went on vacation on my honeymoon, and I came back, and it seemed to at least make sense. Shaw was upset that Mr. Anderson would not give him a chance for redemption. All right, I can deal with this. So they're in a hotel room. Sam Shaw and Gunner are, and Sam Shaw is doing sketches. And Gunner is in there. He's looking at Shaw's sketches, and he's very impressed. He makes a bunch of jokes about how he can't draw. He says he's going to go downstairs to get some drinks or food. Shaw says he wants to stay in the room and draw. Gunner says, okay, and then Gunner leaves. And then Shaw, apparently unaware that there's a camera literally in his face, goes over to Gunner's military uniform and, I don't know, sniffs it?
Well, I don't know if we may have accidentally fast-forwarded through the other half of this. But later, Sam Shaw puts on the outfit, and Gunner comes back and chastises him and tells him to take it off immediately.
But again, Shaw was unaware there's a camera in the room.
Well, there is that.
That's what really pisses me off.
My bigger issue is that Sam Shaw and Gunner are already getting set up to break up.
I don't care about that.
They just got put together.
Are TNA's cameramen vampires?
And
they're ghosts? They're invisible?
I don't know. But I do know that apparently Mr. Anderson is turning heel, and if Sam Shaw turns on Gunner, it's going to turn out that Mr. Anderson was right.
I'm fine with that. Let Shaw be nuts and Anderson be right.
Yeah.
Madison Rayne versus Taryn Terrell. After Madison's promo on Taryn, they shook hands before this match. So they worked hard. They did their best to have a good match, but unfortunately, Taz and Mike Tenay have stolen the old SmackDown gimmick of paying zero attention to the women's match whatsoever. It's so angry. Well, it makes me, as a fan, and I realize I'm only watching this because I'm paid, but bear with me here. It makes me, as a fan, feel stupid when I'm watching a match, and the announcers find the product so boring that they can't talk about it. It makes me feel like I am wasting my time.
Well, sometimes you are.
Well,
it's true. To me, it's kind of like, I don't remember where it was, but I'm sure it's all over the internet and the the TNA forums. I think those exist. I hear about them from time to time. But, the comparisons of the knockouts to the WWE girls. And listen, these girls worked hard. They tried really hard. It was not a bad match. But these girls are not as good as the best girls in WWE. Not even close. But if you want to go out there and pretend that your women's division is a head and shoulders above the WWE women's division, then have your goddamn announcers act like the women's division in your company is the best women's division in the world. Instead, all they were talking about was pinup girls and posters and Taz's usage of posters in his bedroom and all of this bullshit while I'm watching this match. And the people are chanting, "We want puppies." I mean, man, it begs the question why these girls were working so damn hard. But yes, Taryn won with an RKO, and then they immediately went to the back, even though she had won the number one contendership.
There was a lot to the back on this show. Oh, what did they go to the back for? Bobby Roode went into Angle's office. Eric Young was there. Eric wanted to say something, but Angle arrived and said, "I'm glad we can start talking," and he ordered the cameras to shut off. It was so vital we saw this stupid fucking thing.
Wow.
This actually was a very bad show until the last half hour. The last 20 minutes, maybe.
That's not true. I like this spot fest that came next.
Okay.
Because of the one greatest foot stomp of all time.
There was that. Okay, so what we had, as my notes here read, a bunch of X Division dudes had a 6-man tag. They did not do entrances. They did not do graphics. So all I knew is there were 6 small men in the ring fighting.
And there were virtually no entrances on the entire show.
They really weren't. Wonderful pacing, TNA. You've only been around for more than a decade. You can't figure this television shit out. So, I will tell you the 6 men, and by the end, only because they celebrated together, I was able to determine what the teams were. But there was Tigre Uno, Zima Ion, Low Key, Homicide, Crazy Steve, and Manic. If you like action, there certainly was a lot of action here. Maybe 100 moves between these 6 men in the 4 minutes they had. The biggest spot was Manic tried something like a go to sleep.
It was like Tommaso Ciampa's finisher. What do they call that? Project Ciampa?
Project Ciampa?
Or no, that's different. That's kind of more of a power bomb.
The idea was that Manic had was, I will throw this man into the air and then drop him across my knee.
Who does that?
Devitt.
Is it Devin?
There's other guys who do this move. I can't think of any right now. There's probably a dozen guys. But yeah, he's got like a fireman's carry and throws him over his head, and he drops down to his back, and the guy falls across his knees.
I seem to recall somebody doing this in Ring of Honor regularly. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure I can. It kind of looks like something Roderick Strong would do.
Sure.
Regardless, that was his idea. What happened instead was that he threw Low-Ki into the air, and then as Manic fell to his back, Low-Ki's feet came down on Manic's face.
Because he did a double foot stomp out of this.
And he stomped him very hard, either in the face or perhaps in the throat. I'm not sure. But it's bad news either way. So they started throwing guys outside in its next division match, so you figure it's going to be the parade of dives, or maybe just one big giant dive. And then Low-Ki grabs Manic, hits a key crusher, and pins him for the win.
Yes.
It was a bit of a cluster.
Hey, you saved the train wreck for the end of the show.
That is true. That is
fine
true.
with that.
It was a bit of a cluster, but it was in fact total nonstop action. So there you go.
The one thing that I just could not stand about this,
I don't think it's a thing. I think it's a person.
Well, kind of.
All right.
You're right, but the winning team was Low-Ki, Crazy Steve, and who else?
Tigre Uno.
Tigre Uno. That's right. Yes. But the point of this is, after the babyfaces win the match, all three of them raise each other's hands. And I was like, in what universe would Low-Ki team with Crazy Steve? Not any universe I know of.
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know.
Low-Ki should just be double foot stomping this man repeatedly, over and over again. Not teaming with him as a buddy. I remember years and years and years and years ago. This was at King of the Indies, 2001, when Bryan Danielson won. And a whole bunch of us went out to dinner afterwards. And we're all at Denny's. And there are all these big dudes there, big professional wrestlers, like Bison Smith-sized guys. And we got the worst service imaginable. And it was all agreed that Low-Ki should be the one sent up to talk to the waitress because he was the most intimidating guy at the table. I'll never forget that. But yes, he should be destroying Crazy Steve, not teaming with a clown.
Angle's meeting ended. He said he would announce the results next. Rhino cut a promo saying he was going to put EC3 through hell. This promo was loud and intense and screaming, and that's a good thing. That's what the show needed. I was getting drowsy. And no sooner should I think that I was getting drowsy than Bobby Roode should come out for a promo. This was, I'll make a long story short. Roode said he was going to wrestle Young and the winner would get a title shot. This took a week and then another conversation to determine.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that's an important deal, and you want the fans to know about it. And you need to have guys talking about it and give them sufficient time to talk about it so that it's the first thing on their mind. You know, they should think at any point, I wonder what's going to be on Impact next week. Oh, yes, Roode versus Young. So I get why they did this, but these guys came out with nothing to say, and they had talked about what buddies they were and how they'd been partners before and enemies before, and they fought a lot. I'm going to fight one more time, and I'm going to be at my best. I know you're going to be at your best, and blah, 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 blah. So the only thing notable about this is that Eric Young at one point claimed that Bobby Roode was the best wrestler in the world.
Yeah, on the whole planet.
On the planet Earth, there is no better wrestler than Bobby Roode. I don't think anyone bought that. I didn't. That was it.
Yeah, I'm about done with this respect bullshit. It's pro wrestling.
Yeah, this didn't work. Bromans were playing, I forget what they had a name for it, but they were having a contest on Tinder to see who could get the most matches.
Died.
So they're swiping like crazy, just basically tagging every girl they can find in hopes that just, by sheer numbers, one of them will tag them back. And the time expired. Zema Ion, the official, compared their phones. He determined they had tied with the same number of matches. They began to brag about who had the hottest matches. Robbie revealed that he had a match with one of the knockouts.
Also on Tinder.
Yeah.
I can only imagine which knockout this would be.
Who could it possibly be?
How many times have we had Wang on this show talking about Tinder?
I think just the one.
No, at least he was on the very first one and on the one we just did.
All right.
So that's 2 shows we've had him on talking about Tinder. I realize that the bromans are heels and all, but these dudes need Tinder. You know what I mean?
I see your point. But,
I mean, can you imagine if, like, Brad Pitt was on Entertainment Tonight or something on Tinder?
I suspect Brad Pitt...
I can't get a date.
Yeah.
I better get that Tinder app.
This is not the celebrity you're thinking of, but Conan O'Brien did a skit where he and some actor I don't know, but they went on Tinder.
I mean, think about...
They went on matches.
I'm sorry, I apologize to Lance. Wang, which sounds like Lance, it is an A and an N in it. Wang, flat out on this show said, when I approached him and I said, Wang, I know you're looking to settle down. Maybe Tinder is not, you know what I mean? You want to settle down so you're on Tinder? This is not going to work out for you. And what did Wang say? Do you have a better idea? That's what Wang said. He's been relegated to Tinder. These poor bromans.
So yeah, they both bragged about who was going to take their knockout home, and this is to be continued.
So who's the knockout going to be? They just got rid of ODB.
You don't know who Robbie E's knockout's going to be?
No.
Brooke.
Tessmacher?
Yeah, do you know why?
No.
You don't know why?
Oh, I mean, they're really dating.
Yeah, and they have a show to promote.
I see.
Yes.
Right over my head.
Indeed.
Because they've done such a great job.
Well, they haven't mentioned it before now.
What's the name of the show?
Amazing Race.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So that plays into this Tinder dating gimmick?
Robbie E. and Brooke apparently met on Tinder, and they're going to have their first date by going on The Amazing Race.
That's the storyline. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. You know how I figured out they were dating?
How?
Because I chose, for journalistic purposes, to follow Brooke Tessmacher on Instagram. And thus I discovered their relationship.
Cool story, bro.
Cool Instagram, bro.
Yeah. Oh, sure it is, actually. EC3 versus Rhino. So we had a MVP earlier knocking people who tweet and think they can book matches. Taz then here went off on, quote, internet wrestling experts who were upset that TNA always brought up ancient history.
He was very, very upset at Wade a couple of weeks ago, so that's probably what this is all about.
It's a very insecure program. That's what I'm getting at. That's how this all came off. So Rhino went for a spear, but Spud grabbed his legs. Happened a couple of times, and the second time, Ethan just attacked Rhino with a chair for the DQ. He beat him up with a chair, and Spud tried to stop him. I got the impression that Spud was trying to make peace between the two. The announcers were saying Ethan was just so crazy, Spud had to stop him. I didn't buy Ethan as crazy. He is getting larger. James Storm came out, said he was leading a revolution of men who needed a rebirth, and this would be the first of many. So yes, he is now a Bray Wyatt knockoff.
I love that there's many men in this company that need a rebirth.
Well, yeah. So he introduced the Great Sonata, which is just Sonata with Muda's makeup and mannerisms. They had a fun match. It was it was Sonata and Austin Aries. It was the best in the show up to this point. Crowd really got into Aries' comeback. And Storm took the ref, and Sonata used green mist, and he got the win with a kick.
Yeah. Ref didn't notice green mist all over both of them.
No. Had a video package hyping up Chris Melendez. Did they mention this at all last week?
I don't remember.
I don't either. This is a pretty big deal, and to kind of throw it out there, and even they had a video package just with his history. For those of you who don't know, he was a soldier who had his truck hit an IED and he lost his leg, and he has been training and he's about to debut in TNA, and this in fact was his debut. So they had a video which they claimed was in fact his truck getting blown up by an IED. Don't know if we necessarily needed to see that. They showed him clips of him training. He does not wrestle with his prosthetic leg on. And in these brief clips...
Actually, I think sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't.
I see. In these clips, and this was, less than 10 seconds of action, but he appeared to be a buff, muscular Zach Gowen. So suddenly they cut to the ring because they were rushed for time. Angle was already out there, Mr. Anderson was out there, and the Dudleys were out there. And Angle introduced Melendez. He came out in his uniform. They had passed out American flags to all the fans. Everyone cheered for him, of course. Angle talked about all he had sacrificed in his Olympic chase, and so there's nothing compared to what Melendez had sacrificed. Fans are chanting, "Thank you, Chris." Anderson, who is also former military, talked about the Wounded Warrior Project, and someone affiliated with that group had hooked Melendez up with Anderson. And Anderson said, "Well, I can't train him, but I know someone who can," and he turned him over to the Dudleys. And the Dudleys announced that they had trained him for free in way of saying thank you for his service. And everyone was cheering and clapping. A few of them were openly weeping. And everyone just said, "Welcome to TNA, Chris Melendez." They raised his hand. They played his music. And this company's been around for a long time. And I've been trying to think of a more moving and meaningful moment in the history of the show. And I don't have any ideas.
I like this Chris Melendez fella.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about the guy other than what they showed on this deal, but he looks like a guy where sometimes you have like someone experiences a tragedy, and then they have that anger and sadness before they start making their turnaround. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This guy, I mean, maybe he did. Like I said, I don't know. But this guy comes off as a guy who his leg got amputated, and the next day was like, shit, I got to learn how to use this leg.
Yeah, he's a good role model for my cat.
It sure is. He was out there, and he's just got this way about him, like nothing bugs him. No matter what happens to him in his life, he just keeps going. There's never that. There's never a backstep. It's just you just keep going forward. That's the way he comes off.
He did not speak in the ring, but they had lots of clips of him talking in the video package and talking about what he wanted to do, not only to fulfill his own dreams, but to be a role model for other wounded warriors. And they showed lots of other events with other amputees.
Yeah, and he's just doing his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he walked down to the ring, he had pants on, so you didn't see his prosthetic. But they had clips of him with his prosthetic in the video, and he is like he's like a Zach Gowen, but as noted, he's 6'2" and 240 pounds or something like that. And when you consider the fact that he only has one leg, if he had two legs, he'd probably be even. I mean, he would be bigger, obviously. But we're talking. This is a big dude. I mean, I like this guy. I think. I guess we'll see how he does in the ring.
All we can really judge him on is his poise and presence in front of a live crowd, and he had that in spades.
Sure. And from watching the videos and other videos I've seen, he seems to be a pretty decent worker. So whatever happens with TNA, I think this guy is gonna. This is one of those guys where if this place goes under, I think WWE would be like out of their minds not to bring this guy in.
And then we had the main event. It was the Wolves versus Team 3D versus the Hardys. So I got this wrong last week about what the rules of this deal are. I thought it was going to be a series of tag team matches. It's a series of three-way tag matches.
And that's right.
Yeah, so this it all makes more sense to me now. So they're doing three-way tags every week, and the first team to win two of these matches wins the series. This turned into an awesome little TV match. And the big peak, as you mentioned earlier, was the built up to the big dive spot. The Wolves hit Stereotopes on Team 3D, and then Jeff jumped off his brother's back and landed on the pile, and then Matt Hardy,
yes,
went to the top rope and had a moonsault onto everyone. Managed to not die.
Matt Hardy, a moonsault off the post to the floor.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Guy's out of his mind.
Went back to the ring. Everyone started hitting big moves, and 3D hit the last big move. They hit a 3D on Eddie Edwards and pinned him. So they're up 1-0 on the other guys. And like I say, that was that. The first 3 quarters or so of the show were very boring, but the Melinda segment and the main event were quite good. That was Impact.
Very good main event. As noted, the Stips, Team 3D, these guys are just going to keep wrestling each other until one team wins twice. Winning team gets to choose the Stip for the next match. Obviously, we're going to have a tables match next. Because it's TNA, they've put together this series, and already one dude has broken his leg, and one dude told the locker room they'll never be back. So we'll see how they wrap this thing up here. But yes, that was the show, everybody.